probably share is, where does the big kitty come from? And while John was never one to discourage irreverent humor, maybe even encouraged it, I can assure you that there's only silly humor behind the name the Big Kitty. So the nickname comes from a perceived coup that Coach Paul Wilkins had pulled off. Let me wait till the helicopter goes by here. The nickname comes from a perceived coup of when Coach Paul Wilkins, somehow managed to land John Devlin, who had been a highly successful women's coach at Georgetown, and it was said that he must have emptied the financial kitty in order to bring John on board. Well, he did indeed empty the financial kitty, which was $8,000. So Chris Hawthorne, I don't know where you were then, buddy, but and as word spread, an underground newsletter that used to get kind of spread around, it was kind of a tradition amongst the crew. Think of it as kind of an Onion-esque rag that was full of satire. They talked about this elaborate story of how Paul pulled off, landing the big kitty. So for the GW, the current rowers, know that, awkward as it may be when your coxswain says, all hands on the big kitty, that you can do so with dignity and pride. As you might imagine, when you're getting a new coach, there's a fair amount of anxiety, wondering who the hell this Devlin guy was that was coming to GW. Some of us had heard he was crazy. He had there were stories that were true of him having ran the GW freshman coach when that coach waked his Georgetown women back in the day, and that story proved to be founded. He was crazy, and especially, I don't know how many of you know, but John is also a CPA, and he coached rowing during tax season. So if he ever showed up for practice late during tax season, it wasn't a good situation. Or if his launch didn't start, a crew that pays $8,000 for a coach, you can imagine the quality of the launch. Others of us, once we knew that he was an accountant, we were kind of worried. We're like, oh God, he's an accountant. Is he going to be much of a communicator? Because the difference between an introverted and extroverted accountant is the extroverted accountant stares at your shoes. So that story proved unfounded. If anybody's ever tried to get John off the phone, he has the gift to gab. So. And another story, and the final is we worried that John, having been a women's coach, was not going to get guys at all, and that never proved out. I mean, he was he did as well with the men's team as he did with the women's team, with one exception. He brought back a tradition that he had with the Hoya women, and it was called the pancake run. And it was, we'd run the 8 miles out to his house, cook pancakes. Hang out on his upholstered furniture, and head home. So the first pancake run was also the last. Joanne, his wife, shut it down because the Georgetown women did not leave the stink in the household that we did. So that was the only time where he didn't really understand the difference. So anyway, I could go on on stories, and I try to keep the clean ones for today. But I hope we all have the opportunity in a bar tonight to talk some more about some of these stories. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to my successor and Captain Matt Russell.